McDonald's has never tried to make profit off their food. I mean, they have, but that was before an actual business person took over. You see, the McDonald's brothers started out selling food because they wanted to sell food. If you remember my previous video, I said the only way to really succeed in the food industry is actually to enjoy selling food. And that is exactly true. McDonald's, when they started, were successful because they really cared about food. But McDonald's, what it is today, is successful not because of food, because they're no longer a food business. McDonald's is a real estate company. Now, when Ray Kroc took over McDonald's, he took it over from a different perspective. He didn't care about food, he cared about business. He turned McDonald's into the business it is today. When he first started pushing out the franchise side of things, as in a food business. And what happened? He didn't care about food and the franchises failed. The franchises kept failing. He didn't make money until he pushed into the real estate side of things. So when he opened up McDonald's as the real estate company, that's when the profit became massive because now it's real estate rather than food. So how does McDonald's make real estate rather than food? It's to do with the location and the land McDonald's is on. Every other franchise, and I would say basically almost every franchise in existence, rents the land that they're on from whoever owns the land. It could be anybody, any business, corporation, anything. So what McDonald's does that other brands don't do, they buy the land first before you put your franchise on it. They do that every single time. When you approach McDonald's to do a franchise, besides other factors, there's going to be the cost and the restriction on where you can start. The cost is around 1.5 million US dollars is how much it costs to get started at McDonald's. That's from zero to fully functioning store. That was a while ago. You're probably looking at close to 2 million now. But you are getting a guaranteed profitable functioning business. So it's worth it to a degree, but maybe, Anyway, $2 million to start. Then what they do is they scout the location and they give a location that you have to start from. You can choose essentially I want to be in this area, then they try to find a spot there. But whatever they say goes, it's the location that goes there and that's pretty much it. In fact, people barely even get the choice of which suburb or city or anything they want to start in. It's pretty much where McDonald's wants to open the next one. That's where whoever's next in line. It's actually quite brutal. I know a while ago, actually I think my dad used to know a person who started a McDonald's in a particular suburb that was not a wealthy area. And he really didn't want to start his location there, but McDonald's said it has to be there, so it has to be there. Now the thing about this location is it was very close to sewerage pipelines. So you can't actually build on there. Another guy tried to start a used car dealership on that location. And the local government said no. McDonald's came in and they sold it to them, let them zone in it straight away and start building. So they started building and they said to this guy, take your 1.5 million and you're starting here. And he said, I don't want to start there. And they said, you either start there or it's nothing. So he started there, bringing in X amount of dollars, which equivalates to just break even. So the person ends up making no money from the whole thing. But that's the power that McDonald's has because they're not a food company. It's because they do real estate. So they buy the land, they put your franchise on it, you pay them to put your franchise on it, then they rent it back out to you. So you're constantly indebted to paying rent. And rent is obviously the biggest cost above food and everything else. That's the most major cost for any food business. If you're renting a small shop, like a small kiosk in a mall, you've probably seen those, just a small little box. Those places are going for 10 to 15,000 US dollars per month just for that little location there. The bigger ones in the food court, you're looking at 20, 25 a month. And when you go outside on the street, if you're in the city, anywhere from 50 to 100,000 a month sometimes, depending on where you are in the world. That's just how they go. So McDonald's obviously makes their money off that. McDonald's has the highest initial cost and the most brutal tactics because the average of their stores over the world is between upwards of 30,000 a day, lower at about, say, 5,000 a day. So anywhere from 5K to 30K a day, depending on where the location is. They're the highest average performing in the world. And that's obviously why people like to go with them. Some people like to save their money and start small. The cheapest franchises to start, and in fact it might be the cheapest franchise, is Subway. Subway charges rental on their name, which they charge $15,000 a year for rental on their name. And separately, you have to buy all the stuff from them. So they give a booklet to people, so a purchasing booklet. And in that booklet, it says, these are the fries that gets used. These are the cooking, stuff. These are the uniforms. These are your utensils. So they try to make a bulk of their money through constant purchasing of stuff, because the franchise name is nothing. It doesn't cost anything. And that's why Subway isn't the most successful business. And a lot of people who start Subway franchises do fail, because that's what happens. You spend cheap money, the whole thing's cheaply done. It's not going to just guaranteed work. There's a Subway store I've seen where, not even just one, most of them, if you order things with, like, say, avocado on them, they give you 1 small teaspoon of avocado, and they try to save money wherever they can. The main place people try to save money in franchises, I have no idea why, is sauce. Sauce is the one thing that people control and try to say, if I put a little, like a teaspoon less sauce on each person's burger, then I can save, I don't know what, like $10 at the end of the week. So the whole thing's kind of ridiculous. But franchises really squeeze every last cent they can get out of the franchisees. So they just try to find any way they can. A while ago, McDonald's bought out the dollar menu. So it's different in different parts of the world. Some places call it a loose change menu. Some places call it a dollar menu. Some places call it cheap eats or streetwise eats. There's a few different names for all the stuff. Most franchisees around the world actually protested against McDonald's bringing these in, because for these particular menu items, they actually make a loss on every single one they do. But because they're under McDonald's contract, they're forced to do so. So they still say you make up the profit elsewhere, because they get major profit of things like burgers and stuff like that. Because a cheeseburger for $1 is a loss, but a cheeseburger at $5 is like $3.50 profit. So that's pretty much, they say you make up the difference on that. But then that would be fine, except for the fact that people come in and they make whole meals out of these cheap menu items. So the franchisee always takes a hit. Back to the topic at hand, how does McDonald's make their money? Well, like I said, it's off real estate. Cheaper places like Subway make it off purchasing materials, but McDonald's is real estate. That's how they make their money. If you want to start in the food industry, in my previous video, I do mention you really have to enjoy what you're doing, but there are other tactics to take, like the tactic McDonald's taken. But remember, McDonald's can take that same tactic and apply it to any kind of business. It's not restricted to a food industry, so that's not a food industry tactic. That's a business tactic. If you go into the food industry from a business perspective, you can succeed differently, but you have to be very cautious, because it's very difficult to break from being on the food side of things. McDonald's only got into real estate after they had 8 or 10 semi-failing franchises, essentially. So there was still a cash flow coming in. It's not something that you just get started in straight away. It's something that takes more money to get into, but that's how that whole system works. If you want to learn more about business or the food industry, make sure you subscribe, because there's always more stuff coming on.